Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank. Good day and thank you for joining us on Africa Investor Today with me, Avon. We begin this Friday's bulletin with politics and economy news. Eastern and Southern African states have stepped up plans for the establishment of Africa's biggest economic bloc, with the opening of negotiations that may culminate in a free trade area spanning Cape Town to Cairo by May next year. An African Union project that aims to merge the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, Southern African Development Corporation, SADC, and the East African Community, the EAC, has been on the cards since last year in what is seen as Africa's latest effort to build the muscle it needs to compete globally. The three trading blocs have instructed their secretariats to get the legal documents ready for signing in the first half of next year, renewing hopes in a project that has been in limbo since its launch last year. Trade experts say Africa needs to improve how it trades with itself, even as it pursues avenues of growing its share of global commerce with the signing of pacts such as this one. The World Bank's Vice President for Africa says African economies will grow by an average of 1.7% this year, a downgrade from an earlier forecast of 3.5% as a result of the global recession. Obiageli Ezekwesili told Reuters the continent's growth in 2010 will be 2.5%, down from an annual average of 5.8% over the last decade. She further said Africa's economic recovery can be quickened if governments invest in core infrastructure projects, and China's investment on the continent is welcome. Financing for the projects needed will be key and should come from African governments, traditional donors like the World Bank, and new partners such as Brazil, China, or the Arab world. Do stay with us. We're going to take a short break.
Redefining energy means redefining life. At the Petroleum, Oil and Gas Corporation of South Africa, our commitment to greater innovation and greener fuels has made us pioneers in the field of gas-to-liquids technology. It has also earned us worldwide recognition for producing the cleanest fuels through environmentally friendly processes. That's how we've become the international leader in diesel technology. Through pure innovation, pure energy, pure brilliance.
We proceed now with news on companies and markets. Tiger Brands may partner with retail giant Shoprite as part of its plans to expand into Nigeria in the current financial year. The Consumer Goods Group Chief Executive Peter Matley said it had just completed bedding down its most recent acquisitions in Kenya and Cameroon and was actively seeking partnerships in big, hairy and audacious Nigeria. According to Matley, the formal retail market in Nigeria constitutes only 5% of the market, while the rest is made up of informal traders. Analysts believe the group's existing relationship with the Shoprite Group, which like Tiger Brands operates in several other African countries, make the two a perfect match. The Bidvest Group Limited expects earnings quality to improve toward the end of the year. According to the company's chief executive, trading conditions remain reasonably tough and are expected to improve in coming months. However, the group expects to benefit from the Soccer World Cup next year. In other news, the Kenya Power and Lighting Company board is set for changes days after the firm announced it is gearing to reduce government shares in the firm. The board, whose constitution is tightly controlled by the Ministry of Energy, is slated to shed 2 members during the forthcoming annual general meeting. Mr. Arum Mbui, who is member of the Federation of Kenya Employers and a director of a machinery supply firm, will retire by rotation and does not offer himself for re-election. Another director, Mr. Samuel Mwangi, is quitting under the same circumstances. He is member of the Institute of Kenya Supervisors. Don't go away, we have more news after this. Stay with us.
Afrexim Bank is Africa's leading trade finance bank, an organization dedicated to promoting African trade through credit, risk-bearing and advisory services. We pride ourselves on having local presence throughout the continent and are committed to extending our award-winning trade and project finance programs to unlock private sector development continent-wide. We invite you to become a part of our vision for a strong Africa in a changing world. If you trade within Africa, contact us to support you.
In banking and finance news, officials from Angola's central bank and finance ministry have illegally transferred money abroad, promising to recover the missing funds. The statement from the Attorney General's office was short on details and did not say how many officials were involved, how much money had been allegedly stolen, or when charges might be expected. The announcement came just days after President José Eduardo dos Santos said the ruling MPLA party had been timid in its fight against corruption and called on its members to implement a zero-tolerance policy. Nigeria's Fidelity Bank is interested in buying one of 9 banks rescued by the central bank earlier this year and is awaiting guidelines on how such a bid would proceed. Reginald Ijihai told Reuters that Fidelity Bank had been speaking with consultants to the central bank and was waiting for a letter detailing how any deal would be structured. The central bank has injected around 600 billion naira into the banking system since mid-August after its auditors found 9 institutions had built up bad loans, which left them too weakly capitalized to sustain operations. The regulator has said the businesses will be run as going concerns until new investors can be found to recapitalize them, and that its preferred option is for them to be bought out. Stay tuned to Africa Investor Today. Infrastructure news coming up next.
Africa Investor, the leading African investment magazine, is essential reading for investors in Africa, filled with the very latest in Pan-African investment and finance news. In addition, log on to africa-investor.com to find out more about our exciting capital market, infrastructure and tourism events, and our long-standing investable Africa Investor 100 Index series, which tracks over $600 billion of African equities. Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
In our infrastructure news roundup, billionaire investor George Soros, former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, and banker Jacob Rothschild joined a London-based private equity fund in a project to buy mobile phone masts in Africa. The three and Helios committed $350 million to Helios Towers Africa, which plans to acquire mobile phone masts over the continent, with the exception of Nigeria, and broaden cell phone penetration rates beyond 45%. South African Airlines will for the first time face direct competition from Air Namibia on certain African routes after it was granted fifth freedom rights by the respective governments. The rights allow Air Namibia to pick up passengers and cargo in Johannesburg before proceeding to a third destination. The granting of fifth freedom rights is a significant step towards liberalization of Africa's airline industry and gives consumers greater choice. The launch of the Air Namibia flights also provides a further challenge to South African Airways' Africa strategy. The national carrier already faces stiff competition from Arik Air on the Lagos to Johannesburg route. And that's all we have for you today. Do enjoy your weekend, and remember, for more information on African business news, please log on to www.africa-investor.com. From myself and the team, take care. Goodbye. Africa Investor Today is proudly brought to you in association with Petro SA and Afrexim Bank.